The fourth teaching: to know is to admit you know. To not know is to admit you do not know. That is true knowledge. This timeless wisdom speaks of honesty and humility in understanding. Admitting what we don't know is not weakness, it is the very first step toward learning and growing. The story goes like this. In a village gathering, there was once a famous scholar named David. He often claimed he knew everything, and people respected him for his confidence. One afternoon, during a heated debate, an old farmer walked forward. His hands were rough from years of work, his face lined with wisdom passed down through generations. The farmer asked, "Sir, do you know why well water stays cool, even when the summer sun is burning hot?" David froze. He did not actually know the answer, yet pride would not allow him to say, "I don't know." Instead, he spoke in circles, offering a complicated explanation that confused the crowd. The farmer simply smiled and said, "Sometimes not knowing is perfectly fine. If you had admitted it, I would have gladly shared with you what my father and grandfather taught me." At that moment, David realized a painful truth. Pretending to know had not made him smarter. It had only closed the door to knowledge that could have been freely offered. From that day on, he chose to be honest about his ignorance. Instead of hiding behind pride, he admitted when he did not know, and with that humility, his learning grew deeper and richer. In today's world, this lesson is more urgent than ever. We live in a time flooded with information, some true, some false. Too often, people pretend to know everything, posting opinions without facts, or arguing only to protect their pride. But real wisdom begins with the courage to say, "I don't know." When we embrace that honesty, we open the path to truth, learning, and genuine growth. This ancient teaching reminds us that humility is not a weakness, it is strength. Admitting what we don't know is not the end of knowledge, it is the beginning. The fifth teaching: a person without trustworthiness cannot accomplish anything. This simple yet powerful wisdom reminds us that trust is the foundation of every relationship in society. Without it, respect and connection slowly disappear. The story tells of two merchants. The first was Daniel, a man well known for always keeping his promises. People admired him because they knew his word could be trusted. One day, however, Daniel faced a personal challenge. A shipment he promised to deliver on time was delayed. The easy way out would have been to blame the weather or other circumstances. But Daniel chose differently. He visited each customer in person, explained the situation honestly, and apologized. To show his sincerity, he promised to deliver the goods as soon as possible and even offered a small gift to each customer as compensation. His actions revealed that his reputation mattered more than his excuses. On the other hand, there was another merchant named Henry. Unlike Daniel, Henry often broke his promises. He would delay shipments, fail to show up on time, and then offer excuses instead of responsibility. At first, customers tolerated his behavior, but over time, frustration grew. They realized Henry's words meant little, so they left him and began doing business with Daniel instead. Daniel learned an essential truth: trust is more valuable than money. Wealth can be lost and earned again, but once trust is broken, it is almost impossible to rebuild. Because of his integrity, Daniel built a career that was not only successful, but also respected. He often reminded his children, money can always be made again, but trust, once lost, may never return. In today's world, this lesson is more relevant than ever. From friendships to business, from leaders to everyday people, trust remains the key to lasting success. Technology may connect us faster, but only honesty and reliability keep those connections strong. The teaching stands as a reminder: promises are not just words. They are the foundation upon which respect, relationships, and true success are built. The sixth teaching: a gentleman seeks harmony without blind agreement, while a petty person seeks agreement without true harmony. This wisdom teaches us that real harmony comes from respect, understanding, and thoughtful judgment, not from simply following the crowd. A person of integrity respects the opinions of others but does not blindly agree with what is wrong. On the other hand, a person without integrity often follows the majority without independent thinking or honesty. The story goes like this. In a small town, a group of young friends often gathered to discuss issues in their community. One day, the village chief proposed building a new road. Immediately, the group divided into two sides, one in favor and one against. The debate grew heated, but among them was a young man named Lucas, who always thought carefully before speaking. Lucas listened to both sides and finally said, "I believe building the road could be beneficial, but we should consider the budget and the impact on local households first." His words reflected both respect for the idea and a sense of responsibility for the people. However, some of the others did not think for themselves. They simply joined whichever side had more voices without considering the facts or consequences. When the project began, the town soon realized the budget was insufficient, and several households were severely affected. The once excited group now turned on each other, blaming and arguing. The village chief observed the chaos and said, "If everyone had analyzed the situation and expressed thoughtful opinions like Lucas, instead of blindly following the majority, we could have avoided this outcome." His words carried weight, and the friends felt both regret and understanding. From then on, they learned that true harmony is not about agreeing for the sake of agreement. It is about listening, analyzing, and respecting different perspectives. Lucas had shown them that integrity requires courage not to follow the crowd, but to speak with honesty and wisdom. In today's society, this lesson is more valuable than ever, whether in business, politics, or personal relationships. Harmony built on blind conformity leads to mistakes and regret, but harmony built on respect and independent thought creates lasting strength. True unity is not about losing our voice. It is about using it wisely to build trust, respect, and real progress. The seventh teaching: a person who does not think ahead will soon face sorrow. This timeless wisdom reminds us that preparing for the future is essential to avoid unnecessary hardship. Without foresight, people often find themselves caught in regret and struggle when challenges arise. The story tells of two brothers, Henry and William, who were both farmers. During the harvest season, William would sell all of his rice immediately to enjoy quick money for spending. He lived for the present, buying things he wanted without considering what might come later. Henry, however, chose a different path. He sold only a portion of his rice and carefully stored the rest, keeping in mind that winter was approaching. When the cold season arrived, the price of rice increased sharply. Henry sold his reserved stock at a higher value, providing enough for his family's needs throughout the season. William, on the other hand, had nothing saved. He was forced to buy rice at the inflated price, struggling to make ends meet. Saddened, he said to his brother, "If I had known, I wouldn't have spent so carelessly." Henry smiled gently and replied, "I didn't know the future either, but I always think about what might happen. Preparing ahead is how we protect ourselves from uncertainty." His words carried the quiet strength of wisdom. In today's world, whether it is financial planning, education, or health, thinking ahead gives us stability and resilience. Living without foresight may bring temporary comfort, but it often leads to regret when difficulties arrive. The truth is simple: planning for tomorrow is not about fear, but about responsibility. It is how we turn uncertainty into opportunity, and how we build a future with confidence and peace of mind. The eighth teaching: one word can bring prosperity to a nation, and one word can also bring its downfall. This truth reminds us that words are powerful weapons. They can build or destroy, uplift or harm. That is why every word spoken, especially by those in positions of influence, must be chosen with care and wisdom. The story takes place in an old kingdom, where a king placed great trust in one of his ministers, Edward. One day, Edward humbly advised the king, "Your Majesty, please reduce the taxes so that the people may suffer less." The king listened and followed this suggestion. Soon, the burden on the people was eased. With lighter taxes, they worked harder, cultivated their fields with joy, and built thriving communities. Before long, the kingdom became prosperous and stable, and the people praised their wise ruler. However, another minister named Richard, consumed with jealousy toward Edward, sought to undermine him. Whispering into the king's ear, Richard declared, "Your Majesty, the army lacks resources. If we double the taxes, we will grow stronger and secure greater power, blinded by the fear of weakness. The king accepted Richard's advice and raised the taxes drastically. The result was devastating. The people, unable to bear the crushing weight of such heavy levies, grew resentful. Rebellions broke out across the land, and chaos spread through the once peaceful nation. Prosperity gave way to disorder, and stability collapsed into turmoil. In his final days, the king wrote a confession in his will. "I did not know how to be cautious with the words of others. Careless advice and reckless words led our country into hardship." From this story, we see a lesson that still applies today. In families, communities, and nations, words matter deeply. A promise can build trust, but a careless remark can destroy relationships. Leaders, parents, teachers, and even friends hold the power to uplift or to wound through speech. The wisdom is timeless. Think before speaking, for words carry weight. They can be the seeds of harmony and growth or the sparks of division and ruin. The ninth teaching: without learning proper manners, one cannot truly stand in society. This teaching reminds us that respect, humility, and courtesy are the foundation of human relationships. Without them, even the most talented person may find it difficult to earn love and trust from others. The story tells of a boy named James who lived in a small village. James was very intelligent, quick to learn, and often impressed others with his knowledge. Yet, despite his talents, he had a habit that kept people at a distance. He rarely greeted elders, and he often interrupted others while they were speaking. His behavior, though not cruel, reflected a lack of respect and courtesy. As a result, many villagers avoided interacting with him, finding his presence uncomfortable. One day, the village teacher called James aside. With patience and kindness, the teacher explained, "My boy, intelligence alone is not enough. A person who does not know courtesy will struggle to be accepted by society. True wisdom is not just in the mind, but also in how we treat others." The teacher then taught James simple but powerful habits: how to greet with sincerity, how to listen attentively, and how to show respect in every interaction. James took these lessons to heart. Day by day, he practiced greeting the elders, waiting for his turn to speak, and treating others with consideration. Slowly, the villagers began to notice the change. Their hearts softened and their respect for him grew. Before long, James was not only admired for his intelligence, but also loved for his character. This story carries a lesson for us today. In a world that values achievement, it is easy to overlook the power of respect and courtesy. Yet, these small acts build trust, harmony, and lasting connections. Intelligence may open doors, but it is respect that keeps them open. The 10th teaching: if you want to succeed, help others succeed. If you want to achieve, help others achieve. This timeless teaching emphasizes the importance of selflessness and mutual support. Helping others is not only a moral act, but also the foundation of a sustainable community where people lift one another up and grow together. There was once a story about two friends in business, Lucas and Philip. Lucas was always willing to share his experience and extend a helping hand. One day, Philip faced a major difficulty in securing a reliable supplier. Without hesitation, Lucas introduced him to a trustworthy provider he already knew. Thanks to this timely support, Philip overcame his obstacle, and his business began to thrive more than ever before. Time passed, and soon it was Lucas's turn to face a challenge. He wanted to expand his business into international markets, but the task seemed overwhelming. This time, Philip stepped forward. Using his own global connections, he helped Lucas open doors to new opportunities abroad. With that support, Lucas achieved his goal, and both of their businesses flourished on a much larger scale. Reflecting on their journey, Lucas smiled and said, "Helping others is not only about doing good. Sometimes that very act comes back to help us in return." In today's society, this lesson holds even greater meaning. When we choose to share, to support, and to stand by one another, we are also investing in our own future. Success built on generosity creates not only stronger relationships, but also stronger communities. And in a world full of challenges, the simple act of helping someone else might just be the key to unlocking our own path to growth. and happiness. As we reflect on these timeless lessons from Confucius, we're reminded that wisdom is not just about knowing, it's about living with compassion, integrity, and purpose. Every small step we take guided by these principles brings us closer to a more meaningful life. If today's stories inspired you, imagine the lessons still waiting to be discovered. Stay curious, stay open, and join me in the next video as we uncover even more insights that can guide us through challenges and shape the way we live. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, true wisdom begins with you.